Erik Halterman of RotoWire here, and you might have seen a previous video where I shared 7 pitcher sleepers who were sneakily well-rounded. I've got another set of pitcher sleepers for you today, but these guys have major weaknesses. They also have a major strength, though, and that's that they can strike out a ton of batters, which is the category that's most reliable from year to year. If none of these guys improve, they'll still help you in one category, and there's a chance for a real breakout if they could just find the zone or keep the ball in the yard or whatever it is they need to work on. Starting us off, we've got Nick Pivetta, who you can get outside the top 180 in the RotoWire Online Championship the last couple weeks. Pivetta has never had an ERA below 4 in 8 seasons, so you can understand why he's available pretty late in drafts, but the ERA estimators have really loved him recently. Sierras of 336 and 331 the last 2 years. His xFIP was 355 and 350. So the ERA estimators say that he'd been getting very unlucky the last couple seasons. 30% strikeout rate over those 2 years against a 7% walk rate as well. That's the 5th best strikeout minus walk rate among pitchers who have thrown at least 200 innings the last 2 seasons. What's sunk Pivetta so far is home run problems, but now that he's in San Diego, that's not going to be nearly as much of a problem as it was in Philadelphia and Boston. And again, even if the home run problems remain and the ERA is shaky, Pivetta's still going to help you in strikeouts, and what if he does much more? That could also be said for Spencer Arrighetti, the next guy on the list, who threw 145 innings as a rookie last season, struggled to a 4.53 ERA and a 1.41 whip. His main problem was an elevated walk rate, 10.3%, and that's why you can get him so cheap despite his youth and his ability to miss bats. A 3.93 Sierra suggested that he was unlucky last year and could even be a fine option even if he doesn't improve, but he's already starting to show improvement. Arrighetti had a 6.36 ERA over his first 13 outings last year, but a 3.31 ERA over his last 16. His strikeout rate improved from 24% to 30%, and more importantly, his walk rate dropped from 13 all the way to a league average 8%. Arrighetti's breaking balls did really well. He needs to get better results from his fastball to really take that step forward, but again, he's going to offer you whiffs even if he doesn't take a step forward, and if he does, he could offer you a whole lot more. If you're enjoying this video, check out the like and subscribe buttons down below, or maybe up above if you're holding your phone upside down. I've heard I look better that way. You could also go to rotowire.com/try for a free look at everything we've got going on at the site. Up next, we've got Jesús Luzardo, who's available outside the top 200 picks. You have to throw out last year to be interested in him, which typically isn't something you want to do, especially with pitchers, right? They're the versions of themselves we've seen most recently is who a pitcher is in a lot of cases, but outside the top 200 picks, you can take a gamble on saying, what if Luzardo's 2024 was just an injury-filled fluke? I mean, it wasn't good. He had a 5 ERA. His strikeout rate fell to 21%. He battled elbow and back injuries. But if you look at his numbers from 2022 to 2023, it was a 3.48 ERA with a 1.15 whip, a 29% strikeout rate. That's a lot better strikeout stuff you're going to get in this range of the draft. And if Luzardo is healthy this year, and he looks healthy so far this spring, could pay off big time now that he's with a Phillies team, which will help him get far more wins. It's a tougher home park than he had in Miami, that's fair, but more wins, and again, the strikeouts are why he's included in this week's video. I think Jesús Luzardo can strike out batters at any park as long as he's on the mound. Up next, we've got DJ Herz, who is not even a lock for the rotation, which is going to be true of him as well as the final 2 guys on this list. DJ Herz has to beat out one of Jake Irvin or Mitchell Parker or Trevor Williams or Michael Soroka. He's got to surpass at least one of those guys to claim a spot at the back of the Nationals rotation, but none of those guys can really miss bats at an elevated rate. Herz can. He had a 28% strikeout rate in 19 starts as a rookie last year. Now, he also had a 9.4% walk rate, which is not good, but it's a lot better than it was in the minors. And there's 2 interpretations you could have of that. One was that he just got hot in the majors and he's going to regress to those 12-13% strikeout rates or worse this year. Or you could say he's making improvements and he will continue to do so. I do have to point out that his walk rate was higher down the stretch than it was over his first 13 starts, but maybe he was just tiring at the end of a long season. Herz reportedly cleaned up his mechanics over the offseason. There's no guarantee it worked, but that's the sort of story you want to hear if you're taking a chance on somebody like him who can really miss bats. He just doesn't always know where the ball is going. Up next, we've got Ben Brown, who is also fighting for a 5th starter spot. In his case, it's with the Cubs. Cubs, and he's also the only member of the position battle with any real strikeout upside. Colin Ray, Javier Assad, Jordan Wicks are Ben Brown's main competitors. They don't miss bats like he can. Brown had a 29% strikeout rate alongside a slightly elevated 9% walk rate as a rookie last year. Now, he really is just a two-pitch guy, fastball and knuckle curve with good velocity. Sounds like somebody who could do best as a weapon out of the bullpen, and those soft-tossing alternatives for this fifth starter spot wouldn't necessarily be much use as a high-leverage guy. So there's some chance Ben Brown ends up with more saves than starts this season if something happens to, say, Ryan Presley. But plan for now seems to be for Brown to remain stretched out as a starter, which either means he's going to win that fifth starter job or he's going to head to the minors. If that happens, which might be the most likely outcome as I record this, do still keep Ben Brown's name in mind because I think we're going to be bidding a lot for him when a spot opens up. I think he's going to get his chance at some point this year, and he's going to strike out a lot of batters when he does. Finally, we've got a real long shot here, Joe Boyle. If you could take a player with real strengths and even more real weaknesses and put him on any team to get the most out of him, you would put him on the Rays, and that's what happened to Joe Boyle. He was acquired from the Athletics in the Jeffrey Springs trade this offseason, and Boyle has a 16% walk rate for his career, which is terrible. It's led to a 5.23 ERA, a 1.49 whip. But he has a 25% strikeout rate, which is pretty good when you don't really know where the ball's going. He's got a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. He's got a slider that the stuff metrics love. If the Rays can get Joe Boyle's control to even below average, it doesn't even have to be average. There's enough stuff here that Joe Boyle could be a very high strikeout starter. Or Boyle could spend the entire year bouncing between long relief and the minors. I think that is very likely. Or maybe he gets moved to a high leverage relief role. There are a lot of different possibilities with Boyle, but he's moved to a team that could get the most out of him, and the early signs in spring games are good. He's only walked one batter through his first 4 1/3 innings. It's a tiny sample size, I know, but if you were looking for positive signs with Joe Boyle, somebody you want to take a chance on very late in drafts and hope he wins a rotation spot out of camp, we're at least seeing those signs. That's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments which late round pitchers you're targeting for their strikeout upside, and remember, head on over to rotowire.com/try for free access to the site.